Okay, let's just dive right into a deeply frustrating situation that I know so many health-conscious people out there are dealing with today. You know the drill, right? You're putting in the work, you're eating right, hitting the gym, trying to manage your health, but instead of feeling vibrant and energetic, you just feel completely drained. It's the ultimate exercise paradox. You're literally doing all the right things, but somehow your body is responding by making you feel worse. I mean, have you ever worked out incredibly hard, pushed yourself to the absolute limit, only to step on the scale a day or two later and see that you've actually gained weight? Ugh, it's incredibly disheartening. You put in the sweat equity, you expect progress, and instead, it feels like your body is downright breaking down on you. And honestly, it goes way beyond just the scale. You might be doing everything perfectly, exercising regularly, strictly dieting. Maybe you're even jumping into those icy cold plunges. But you're left feeling completely run down. Worse yet, you might even notice an increase in visceral belly fat, or maybe some signs of insulin resistance. It really feels like you just can't win. Well, today we are going to solve this biological mystery. We're going to uncover the hidden culprit behind this exhausting cycle. So, who exactly is causing all this sabotage? Let's meet your cellular firefighter. Think about how our bodies actually respond to stress. We all know about cortisol. Cortisol is driven by the adrenals. It's basically the overarching master fire alarm for systemic stress in the body. It just rings super loudly to say, hey, there's a major problem here. But then we have this lesser-known hormone called FGF21. So if cortisol is the loud alarm, FGF21 is the actual firefighter. It's your cellular stress messenger. When you exercise or fast, you create a localized stress response, kind of like a little fire. Well, FGF21 gets dispatched right to the scene, specifically to put out that fire, manage the cellular stress, and ultimately help you adapt and get stronger. But here is where the sabotage actually happens. According to a 2018 study published in Nature, if you're metabolically unhealthy, or maybe just dealing with constant chronic stress from life, work, and lack of sleep, your cellular firefighters get completely exhausted. This leads to what's known as FGF21 resistance. Because the firefighters are so burnt out, they just stop responding. You've effectively eradicated the messenger. So now picture this. The overarching cortisol alarm is just blaring, but nobody is showing up to put out the fire. The stress just amplifies and amplifies. This resistance is exactly why every healthy habit you try suddenly falls flat on its face. So, how do we stop exhausting our firefighters? We need to rethink our workouts completely. Let's look at our first actionable framework: pulse over pressure. Look, when we want to get healthy, our natural instinct is often to go from 0 to 60. We sign up for this grueling 60-minute workout. But remember, you already have real-life stress: work, family, running on no sleep. Throwing a full 60-minute session of chronic stress on top of all that, that brings on FGF21 resistance incredibly fast. Instead, you need a pulse routine. FGF21 actually responds very well to short, on and off bursts. We need to capitalize on the recovery aspect rather than just applying constant, relentless pressure. So what's the magic number for that pulse? It's 15 to 20. Yep, just 15 to 20 minutes. If you're dealing with metabolic dysfunction or really high stress, 15 to 20-minute workouts with higher intensity are exactly what you need. I know, it might feel like you aren't doing enough compared to that hour-long slog, but biochemically speaking, you are allowing those firefighters to put out the fire and then, crucially, go back to the station to rest. You completely avoid triggering that massive, unmanageable inflammatory response. Now, if you don't listen to your body and you push a little too hard, you really need to watch out for this major warning sign: 3 to 5 pounds. If you bump up your workout intensity and suddenly find yourself weighing 3, 4, or 5 pounds more over the next couple of days, guys, that is not muscle. That is water retention triggered by a traditional inflammatory response. Your body is literally screaming that the stress is just too high. The immediate fix here? Just reduce your intensity, shorten the workout, and you'll watch that water fluctuation normalize right away. All right, speaking of water, let's move on to our second framework. This is a fascinating, highly counterintuitive aspect of how our bodies handle stress, insulin, and recovery. Let's dive into metabolic hydration. Did you know your body can literally make its own water? It is this incredible biological chain reaction. When you occasionally keep your insulin levels low, by fasting or maybe eating low carb, you actually train your body to utilize stored fats better. And as your body breaks down that fat, it ultimately gets broken down into hydrogen. That hydrogen then combines with the oxygen you breathe. And, well, basic elementary school science tells us hydrogen plus oxygen equals water. So your body actually generates clean, molecular water right from your fat cells, which helps your mitochondria function beautifully. However, There is a catch here. When you lower your insulin through fasting or those low-carb days, your body naturally excretes more water. So while that cool metabolic hydration is happening internally, you can still become systemically dehydrated if you aren't careful. Drinking plain water just isn't going to cut it. You've got to truly hydrate with adequate minerals. The source material for today's explainer highly recommends replenishing with proper mineral balances. They specifically note tools like the Variety Pack from Element Electrolytes to help you keep those cellular firefighters primed and ready without drying out. Okay, so we know how to pulse our workouts, and we know how to hydrate our metabolism. Now let's tie the whole shebang together into how we live every single day. Welcome to the interval life. Basically, every stressor in your life needs to be treated as an interval. Take fasting, for example. Don't just graze or lightly restrict forever. Fast aggressively and then feast aggressively to ensure a full recovery. Doing caloric restriction, you've got to cycle it. Restricting endlessly just leads to leptin resistance and, you guessed it, FGF21 resistance. What about hitting a cold plunge or sauna? Make it infrequent but intense. You want to trigger the whole fire department to come over, put out the fire, adapt, and then go recharge. You really have to throttle your lifestyle stressors to demand total recovery. That's how you keep cortisol down and harmony high.
It really all comes down to this overarching mantra: live your life like you do interval training. We are simply not designed to be full force, pedal to the metal all the time. I know the modern world demands continuous, unending energy from us, but our biology just isn't built for that. We all have infinite energy. We require a pulse. We require intensity followed by genuine, unapologetic rest.
Which brings us right to our final thought for today. Where in your life are you pushing the pedal to the metal, and where do you desperately need to pulse? If your firefighters are exhausted, well, it might just be time to throttle back, embrace the interval, and finally let your body recover.